Would you send your kids to a public school? I sure wouldn't. Let's talk about it. The number of children being homeschooled in this country has risen exponentially since COVID, and the government would do well to ask themselves, why? Why are so many parents choosing to educate their children at home rather than send them like sheep amongst wolves into the public system? Well, there I go. I've just answered my own question. The only reason you'd send your children to a public school these days is if you were ambitious for them to become a non-binary they-them Marxist who identifies as a cat and lovingly espouses the values of communism while being convinced that the world is about to be destroyed by global boiling unless we quickly, very quickly, give more power to unelected globalists and pay more taxes to the government.
It wasn't so long ago that when teachers asked children what they want to be, they meant what profession. Now they're asking them which animal, object or beast they may identify as and tailoring their lessons accordingly. This isn't satire, it's a genuine story. It's true. It's going on in schools up and down the country. And for those of us who have warned for years about the inevitable consequence of limitless self-identity, it sadly won't come as a surprise. But it is shocking. This story begins with a video that circulated yesterday of a teacher in England scolding two pupils for refusing to accept that one of their classmates identified as a cat. They say that children in high schools are being allowed to self-identity as cats, horses, dinosaurs, even a moon. Not the moon, a moon. And they're deadly serious about this.
Parents have been complaining for a while that schools are helping their children to transition gender without parents' knowledge, and now it's come to attention that schools are actively encouraging children to question their gender.
NAPLAN results may show that a third of our nation's children are struggling in basic reading and arithmetic, but boy, do they know about pronouns. Your kids will be lucky to graduate from a public school with proficient reading skills, but they'll be able to name 72 genders and dozens of sexual orientations though.
Just be you.
Just be me?
Yep. When you're trying to decide, think about all the things you like to do. Just be you.
Just be me.
Ooh. We found Jared, poor lad. And this be Winnie.
Hey there! I am the great Winifred. She, her. Actor extraordinaire.
Nightshade's pronouns are they, them.
He or she just doesn't fit who I am.
Ugh! Cartoons were way better than that when I was a kid.
Dragon, dragon, rock the dragon, dragon ball, sing. Dragon, dragon, rock the dragon, come, get.
They won't be able to name the capital of Russia, or New Zealand, or France. Hell, they probably won't even be able to name the capital of Australia. But they'll be expertly able to identify the pansexual, polyamorous and intersex flags. Isn't that right, Melbourne City Council? Your kids will hate Australia Day, Anzac Day, Captain Cook and Margaret Court, but they'll observe Wear It Purple Day and Pride Month like pagans bowing to and worshipping their many gods. Of course, it won't be all sparkles and rainbows for your kids in public schools. They will likely be traumatized and needing therapy after learning that the world is on fire and that they have no future. They will hate the Industrial Revolution. They will hate their grandparents even more for having been a part of it. They will hate farming and call for an end to it. Do you think I'm joking?
Farming needs to stop. That's the single biggest driver of climate change.
Sad. I thought he was joking.
Of course, carbon emissions are not the only sins of their grandparents. Your kids will learn that grandma and grandpa are also responsible for racism, sexism, and normalizing heterosexuality. They'll be convinced that long before white people ruined everything, the world's natives lived in a gender-fluid utopia of unicorns and flower petals. They will believe the only way to improve the world is to abolish whiteness, by which they mean anything and everything that came before them.
I'm asking for you to remember that if the world falls apart, trust should not be doled out easily to anyone, especially white people.
Now I know what you're thinking. All this is great, but do kids actually learn skills that will help them get a job and become self-sufficient? Don't be ridiculous. No, they don't. Instead, they'll be taught where they fit into the grievance industry and that they are owed assistance by the government, who can easily provide for them by simply taxing the billionaires. Ah, the billionaires. Your kids will hate the billionaires. They'll hate anyone who has more than what they do. They won't be taught how to work hard, how to persevere, how to achieve their goals, how to start a business. They will only be taught how to hate, and that they are eternal victims.
So much trans hate in the world right now, and I'm so done with it. And pride just means that we are unabashedly happy just to be alive.
And where do you personally feel that that hate is coming from?
Most places, but especially the government.
And in your own life, where would you say that you feel the hate the most?
I kind of internalize a lot of the hate, so it feels like it mostly comes from myself at this point.
The public system will teach your children nothing about the Australian Constitution or about the workings of Western liberal democracy, but they will most definitely understand the politics of envy. After 12 or more years of state-sponsored Marxist indoctrination, that beautiful child you once held in your arms, for whom you had such high hopes, will leave school with a certificate signifying absolutely nothing, and a chip on their shoulder that even Smiths would be proud of. Convinced that they have been ripped off by their parents' generation, who did nothing at all for them, they'll be happy to spend their days protesting for climate change, for the removal of our statues, for destruction of our history, and for the right to abort your grandchildren. This is what we now expect from the education system in this country. I'm exaggerating, of course, or am I? Think about what I have said. Maybe watch this video again. The number of homeschooled children in Queensland has more than doubled in the past 4 years and continues to rise in every other state. Now, clearly, I'm not the only one deeply concerned about our schooling system. You are as well. I'm Senator Babette for the United Australia Party.